Hi. Mission Milk is an initiative taken by three cousins in Bangalore to distribute milk to children in this pandemic. Now, why milk? What is their motivation behind this? Listen to Shazar answering questions like these and speaking on topics such as mental health, social responsibility, their experience on the Colors TV show Dance Divane, and a lot more. Now, to support Mission Milk, go to their main page, like, share their content, follow them, and if you can, then please donate. Like Shez says, how much you donate doesn't matter unless and until you spread out the word so that more and more people donate. We are trying to do our bit. We have started a support fundraiser campaign for Mission Milk. You'll find the donation link in bio. Let's just dive into the conversation. So, live, okay. So, today we have a very special guest. I don't think I'll have to introduce you, but just for the sake of it, Shez, can you describe who you are? Just for the sake of it.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Shaz or Shazar. I'm from Bangalore. I'm around 24, and I am one of the three co-founders of Mission Milk.
Right, Mission Milk. So basically, I found you on Instagram only. I saw your page, and then I was going through your Instagram, and then it was a little bit surprising for me because I've seen people distributing ration. For example, even the government is doing it, but you guys were doing something different. You guys were distributing milk. So I just want to know where that milk idea came from, because I know ration is very common, but why milk?
Right. So actually, even our story begins with ration kits. That's how it all started. So during last year's lockdown, just as lockdown started, my family was actually providing ration kits to a couple of settlements across Bangalore. So they had found like 2-3 settlements with around 70 families in each. And they decided that, we'll take up the responsibility for these settlements. We'll make sure that they have rations to survive through the lockdown, because they were all daily wage workers. So they were all out of job, or they were stuck in Bangalore and they had to actually get back to their hometowns. So they were in a very tough spot, to be frank. And we were actually lucky enough, like the three of us were lucky enough to have this kind of social work exposure, because our families were already doing it. So,
okay, nice. So this was March 2020?
April.
Okay.
Last April. Yeah. So in the beginning of 2020 April, we went and met these people. We started distributing the kits. We started seeing the kind of places they were living in, their living conditions, and it was a lot to take in. In like a small, I would say, 5x5 hut without even walls and just a roof. There was a family of 6 living there. And it was like that one 5x5 had everything. It had their bed, their kitchen, their living room, dining room. It was like everything. So it was really shocking to see that. And it made us get some perspective about life and the things that matter, and about taking things for granted and stuff like that.
Right. So this was the time you were still distributing rations, right?
Right. So we were doing that, and while we were walking around, Zishan actually happened to see this mother, and she was holding her infant, and he was crying, and he had water in a milk bottle. So that really caught his attention, and he was like, "Okay, that seems a little bit odd. What's happening here?" And when we approached her and we asked her, "How's it going? What's happening? Is your child okay?" She burst into tears, and she was like, I'm so grateful that there are people like you who are coming and giving us food, who are giving us ration like rice, atta, dal, spices, and things like that. But at the end of the day, I can eat it, my husband can eat it, my grown-up children can also go for it. But we really, the kids. But it came to a point where they were just like, how can we even think about eating any of that when we can't feed our baby anything? Like, our baby is going to sleep hungry. And nobody has been distributing anything that can be fed to our children. So we saw that, and we were actually very surprised. We were like, hey, that's so odd. How is it that everybody's trying to help out, but there is still one need that is not being met? So we saw that, and we were like, okay, we need to really think about this. So we came back home that night, and like three of us basically had like a reality check that day, where we were like, you know, we are so used to our own lives. We are so our responsibilities are like totally different. The way we think, everything that we have, like what we consider to be necessities, are actually luxuries. And
Right.
once you step there, you actually know the difference. And that really got us thinking, like, we are sitting at home and complaining about, like, oh man, like there's no current, like there's no AC, or like, oh shit, the Wi-Fi is not working today. How am I supposed to catch up with my Netflix shows? So those were our first problems. Whereas the actual problems which people are having out there are things like, oh man, I don't have food. I don't have food to give my kids. I don't have a place to sleep. I have no money. I can't get back home. So, like, those are problems. I feel like what we had were not problems. That was just us being like us. So, like, in some sense, we felt very spoiled. But, like, this is not fair. Like, how is it that we have all these things, but these people don't? Like, and how can we help them out in any way possible? So, we were very keen on doing something. Like, we couldn't just sit idle after hearing the stories and seeing what's actually happening.
Mhm.
So our people were working like continuously, and we're like, we got to do something, but at the same time, it has to be something that's feasible, logical, and something that's in our capacity. So when I say in our capacity, I mean like, see, Zufia and I were we just graduated from college around year and a half ago at that time. And Zishan also was just working. He had done his master's abroad and he had come back. He also just started working.
Okay.
So like, just like, starting off our lives.
Mhm.
We went like, financially stable on our own. Like, yeah, we had our families and like, we didn't have like worries like, oh my God, there's no food and things like that. But we wanted to help in such a way where it was us who's helping. Like, the three of us personally wanted to do something which we can do and which is like within our reach. So that's when we sat down and we decided that, why don't we just focus on the children, because it's very clear that that is the need of the hour, that that's the pain point which we saw. There's that one gap in the system that has been able to catch it. So we sat down and we're like, okay, like, when it comes to babies, what can we do for them, like infants and toddlers? So we thought about a lot of things. We thought about like Cedillac, like clothes, and like just basics, like like small toys for children and things like that. And then we came across to milk, which was like the most basic thing. And we were like, why don't we just do milk? Milk is something like, if a baby has to like go to sleep without milk and her mom is trying to like, cool her by giving her warm water instead, then that is really something that needs to be discussed about. That is something that really needs to be worked on. So we were like, okay, let's do milk. It's easily affordable. Like even for us who just have like very basic savings from pocket money and our salaries and stuff, milk is something that we could afford. Like example, like ration kits, like any ration kit you see out there right now is a minimum of anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 rupees to make up one full.
Only one? Okay, 1,000 for one.
Yeah, so 1,000 to 3,000 is how much it costs to make one ration kit with your atta, dal, spices, and enough for them to last at least for like around 10 days or 15 days at the most, depending on how much quantity you put into it.
Okay.
And we were wondering where, like, we were like, how is it that nobody in the ration kits has ever thought about giving milk? Like, like milk is one of your necessities. Like, that's the first thing.
So now that I'm listening to your story, now I'm wondering how could have no one thought about milk, but it was still absent. And then you guys came in.
Exactly. So like it was like a eureka moment where we're like, dude, come on, do milk. Like it's so simple, it's basic, it's cheap, it's something that we ourselves can afford. Like even if like, for example, like pre-lockdown, you would go to a cafe and you would spend easily $250 to $300 on one cup of coffee, like a cold milkshake or whatever it is, and you never thought twice. You were just like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll have a cold coffee. You bill it and you leave. But that same amount of money, like for $250, you can pick up enough milk to feed up to like 4 families a day, or at least for like 2 days, you can give them enough milk. And like that just shows the kind of like, the value of money and how different it was for us. like people like us who are all sitting at home with aram say, and the difference makes for somebody out there, like your migrant workers, your underprivileged families, people who are really struggling. So, we were like, perfect, let's just stick to milk. It's just 37 rupees. So last year it was 37, this year it's 38, which is still like not a big difference at all. So we were like, that's it, like, let's just stick to milk. Let's just see how it goes. We'll start off because at least now we know that there's a need for it. So the need is there. We just need to supply it. So perfect. Let's do this, and that's how it started basically. So we got together. We put together our savings, and it worked out perfect because because of lockdown, none of us were going out. So even like whatever little money we had, which we would spend going out, like chilling with friends or buying some clothes, like this, basically like spending it on materialistic things or like food and stuff like that. We thought like why don't we divert that same amount of money that we use on a monthly basis for ourselves to help a child instead. Why not? Because like for us it's one coffee, for him it's a week worth of milk.
Right.
So like that's a huge difference that's there. So we started with that. We were like, perfect, let's just do this. We put together our savings and we were able to pick up 50 liters of milk a day.
Okay,
So
a day.
a day, yeah. So 50 liters is like what, 1,500 bucks, 1,700, I guess.
Yeah, close.
Which, for 3 people is just 500 bucks. It's just still like not much because like you spend that much anyways. Like, going out after college or coming back home from work, you just end up spending that. Like,
but this was every day. For example, you used to go every day, distribute 50 liters of milk. Okay.
We used to go every day. So that's still, yeah. So we were like, let's just do it. It's okay. Like, we'll see how it goes. 50 liters will last them for a while. And at least like, if not for like it won't last them for like a week. But our goal was, let's make sure we go every day. Or if we can't do every day because of the lockdown and like funding and all, let's at least keep it an alternate day basis. That like, if I give a family a liter of milk today, they can use half today, boil it and keep it, and use half tomorrow. Because none of them have any means of storing it. They don't have fridges and things like that. So it was
perishable. So
yeah, it was a daily perishable.
Right.
So we were pretty clear. We were like, see, we can't help a child today. We can't give him milk today. And then tomorrow he'll just be waiting for it. And like, that's just really sad. Like, you can't give someone that, show them like, oh, like you can have this and then just take it away from them immediately. So we made up our mind, we're like, okay, this has to be a daily initiative or at least an alternate day, depending on how much we can work towards. And we started with 50. We were able to go on for about a week with just our own funding. And as our funding started reducing is when we turned towards our friends and family. So our immediate family, like our parents, our siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, things like that. And we were like, hey, like, 3 of us have decided that, we want to start distributing milk to children. So would you guys like to help us, or like, can you please help us? And like, it's your friends and family. They'll never like, it's harder for them to say no to you than some random person you ask for charity. So they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And like, I feel what actually worked much better for us was that they saw that, we started this ourselves first. Not that, oh, we came up with this idea and now we're coming and asking them for money.
Right.
Like, hey, like, if you want to distribute milk, can you please give us thousands of rupees so we can start? It wasn't the case. It was like, we want to do it. We've started doing it. We can see that there's a need for it. It's working. But we need some financial support. We need some financial backing so that we can continue this for a longer period. So that's how it started. It went to friends and family, and one of them was like, yeah, this is perfect. And like, we had a lot of cousins, and so that's when we came up with like the tagline of an initiative from the youth for the children. Because our whole idea was like, we want to involve all the kids, all the teenagers, all the young adults, as you say, who are sitting at home from home or who are like unemployed or whatever it is. Like, all of y'all can help out. Like, if you just like give 50 rupees, if we got like 100 people to give us 50 rupees, that itself is like huge.
Right.
So that's like, small donations, but quantity, as many people as we can get. So we started off and like friends, family, the donations came in. They saw that.
Mhm.
Like,
Okay, so before we move, I just have one question, Chess. So
sure.
the big thing was that you guys at least started, because I know this happens with a lot of people. This happens with me also. So I see someone outside, or maybe I'm just scrolling Instagram. I see some heartbreaking video, and at that specific moment, I think of changing everything, revolutionizing everything. But then the thought fades away. I can't even change myself
Right.
after that. So did you
Right.
guys not get second thoughts, or you were like, I know that one moment was where it pushed everything, but then when you slept over it, did you guys get any doubts or any second thoughts?
See,
This was a big thing to start, at least even start.
right. So initially, so when we came forward with the idea, like people were like, okay, you need to raise funding, you need to like get distribution in line, and like there were a lot of hurdles, which did scare us. We were like shit. We're just like the youngsters. Like, what can we do? How can everybody wants to change the world, but it's not that easy.
Right.
But honestly, like what kept us going was the fact that the first 2 days itself, like initially we were in that full josh, like yeah, we can do this, let's do it,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And the only thing that honestly that kept us going was every day when we went out for distribution, we saw how little it took to make someone else happy. Like it just
Mhm.
took half a liter of milk to make two children smile and get excited and like get hyper. They were like so enthusiastic. They were like, oh my God, we're getting milk. Like just seeing that made us feel like, damn, like, we've been taking things way too much for granted. Like, and every single point, there were a lot of points where we were like, are we way out of our league, or like, it's tiring. Why don't we just relax at home for some days? Like, we've been going out every day. It's hot. All that came up. But the only thing that kept us going was like all three of us had one personal experience while going for distribution that just got stuck in our head. That that no matter how much we like, even though like we had this thought process of like everyone gets it, like okay, we've done our bit now, like
Right.
let's
Right.
relax or watch some TV, or like
Mhm.
let me go back to life. But those small instances is what kept us going. Like for me personally, I remember on the second or third day that we went out, we finished distributing everything. And while I was walking back while we were about to leave, out of nowhere, this small girl, maybe like 3 or 4 years old, she just ran up to me. She caught hold of my leg and she was just hugging it. And she's like, "Thank you, bhaiya. Aap kal bhi aoge na?"
Oh,
And
okay.
like that just made me. I just looked down and I was like, I was speechless. I was like, I couldn't say no. I was like, yeah, of course I'm coming tomorrow. Like, don't worry, we're going to be here. And like the fact that she asked, or like it came in her head, like, oh my God, these guys are coming and helping us. I really hope they come tomorrow. So, like, we did not want to shatter a child's dream. We ended up becoming a child's dream, and they were just like, what these crazy big people who are coming and like giving us this awesome milk and just disappearing off every day.
Santa
Are they
Claus.
going Yeah, it's like the Santa Claus. So the fact that they were worried about us not coming back actually kind of gave us an idea that, a lot of it happens everywhere. Like you can't really blame people. Like you try to do your best, you do your bit, but somewhere down the line, you slowly fade back into your old life. You go back to like normal. You go back to the new normal, as they called it last year.
Mhm.
So honestly, that's what kept all of us going. We each had, like for Zishan personally, it was the fact that he saw a mother faking her child. Like imagine like what kind of a situation you have to be in to try to trick your child that you're feeding her milk just so that she goes to sleep and stops crying. And like them telling us that, giving us rations, but honestly, we don't want to even eat it because like my child is going hungry. Like what kind of a parent am I if I eat like and like if I'm filled to the stomach, but my child is just sitting and crying because he's hungry. So it was actually very disturbing. So honestly, in the beginning, we were quite disturbed. And every time any one of us came to a point where we wanted to just slack off, or like, just relax for a while, instantly that thing came back. It was like, hey, like, you want to go back and watch Netflix, but there's a child out there that's been seeing you for the last week and is praying and hoping that when she wakes up tomorrow morning, you will be there again. So like, that's a lot of that's a lot to live up to. And like, you don't want to make like, you don't know when someone's prayer is helping you out where in life.
Right,
So,
right.
and I'm pretty sure these kids, like, they looked up to us and things like that. So we didn't have the heart to break their heart. We felt
Mhm.
like they're already in such a bad situation. We can't stop and put them in a worse situation. Like, how they say you can't miss something you never had,
Right.
but we give it to them. So now we are responsible to make sure that they don't miss it again. Like it's our social responsibility. Like at the end of the day, they need more help than we do. They need much more than we do. And like children, like they're the youth of the country. They're the future. Whether it's a slum child or whether it's a child sitting at home, at the end of the day, they are the future of this country.
Right.
And we also youth, like we don't have, like I'm pretty sure none of us have even one. I'm pretty sure all of us have at least one memory of our mom forcing us to drink a glass of milk.
Mhm.
Like, nahi, school jaane
Lot.
ke pehle to
Right.
you want to go out and play, finish your milk and go and play. You want like anything. So we found it really sad that we grew up with this whole thing about milk and how it makes you strong. It makes you born strong. It's like add Horlicks and Boost and you'll grow taller, sharper, stronger. So we had it in one way or the other, and we felt like the fact that these kids don't even have that little is really sad. So we wanted to just fill that gap, and just give them that little bit of happiness which we could, to our extent at least. Whatever was in our capacity is what we wanted. So
Right.
So if I hope that answers your question, is like
Mhm.
what kept
And also, not to forget, all of this was happening in between a great pandemic. So it was even risky to step out, right? So
right.
it was how hard it was to convince your parents, because your parents are from medical background, right? They're doctors.
Right.
So they know how serious this is, and still you had to go out and distribute and do all of that. So was it easy convincing them, or?
Initially, no. They were completely okay with it as long as we made sure we took all precautions possible: gloves, masks, face shields, social distancing, up to an extent at least. Like in some places, you can't help it; they just live in a very small, cramped place. But wherever you can, you have.
Right, and like you said, people are coming, running.
Yeah.
All that it's cute, but it's also risky.
It's also risky. And like more than anything, like our biggest fear it wasn't us going out there and catching something. These people live on the outskirts. They live among their community. And once the lockdown happened, like see, at least for us, lockdown happened, but we still have a vehicle to move around if we want to.
Right.
But these people, once they are in that community, once they're in that settlement, they don't move out. They don't go anywhere. So more than us catching something outside, our biggest concern was like, I hope we don't come and give them something. Like, if we get something, we are able to take care of it. You can go to a hospital, a clinic, you can get admitted, things like that. But these guys can't afford that. They don't have these facilities. So more us falling sick, our biggest worry was that, we hope we don't spread it to them, because they are in a closed environment. We don't want them, like if one person catches it, the whole settlement will catch it. It's that kind of a situation. So yeah, we were like as safe as we could be: gloves, masks, sanitizers, distancing, door-to-door delivery. Wherever we could, we took utmost precaution possible. And since my parents were from the medical background, as time went on, they gave us more and more tips as to okay, you can do this to be to reduce the spread. Like you can double mask. Even like last year itself, they told if you're in a very crowded place, double mask. There's nothing wrong. It might be a little uncomfortable, but it's safer. So we took a lot of different steps to make sure that nobody's health is compromised more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like even for us, if we want to help somebody, we got to be healthy ourselves first. So if we are sick, then we can't help anybody else. So we were very proactive in that case. We didn't want to mess up anywhere. And even people who were helping us, volunteers and things like that, it was a very strict guideline that we put across to anybody who helped us. Like, if you don't have any one of these things, please don't step out. It's okay, you chill at home. You can help in different ways, but don't come for distribution. So for distribution, there was a very close group of volunteers who were all very socially responsible, very dedicated, and very, very safe. Because that was like our most the topmost priority for us back then. And see, unlike this wave, last year's wave was much, I would say, calmer, if that's the way to put it.
Yeah,
Like comparatively, yeah. Like back then, that felt like the worst, but now we know like things could be worse even more. And like back then, at least that there was the whole thing about okay, like youngsters are safe, they have a better immunity, they won't catch it. Got to be more careful when you're senior citizens or people with prior medical issues and things like. So it wasn't that big of a hassle back then. So we were able to manage pretty well, and like we didn't have any issues at any given point. Luckily, like touch wood, we didn't have any issues at all. So yeah, we tried our best. Like we have to. It's our responsibility to make sure that we don't fall sick, and at the same time, someone next to you doesn't because of you.
Right.
So we were pretty strict about that. Yeah. So coming back to it, friends and family. That's where we took our next step. After we started running out of our own savings, we talked and we're like, "Hey, listen, we need some help. Like, I hope you guys don't mind. This is the situation out there. These are the people. This is a requirement, and we just want you to help in any way possible. To give us $50, that's a huge thing. If you give us 500, that's even better. So there was no such thing as a small or big donation. Any donation was a donation.
Right.
So our goal was like, let's just see how long it goes. Let's see how many people are interested in something like this. And the response we got was insane. Like we didn't expect such a response. Like just through friends and family, and then like their friends and family. So it just kept getting from one circle to another circle to another circle, and word started spreading. And it came to a point. So initially it was like, okay, every time we got donations, it was like either people giving us cash or GPay and things like that. And we knew, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is my mom's friend's son or something, or this is my aunt's relative from the other side of the family. So we knew where the money was coming from, and they knew where the money was going.
Right.
But this word started spreading. That's when, like, I feel that's when Mission Milk actually kicked off. When people who don't know us and people who we don't know started donating to the cause.
Okay. And in the
That
early
gave us-
phases, I just had one question.
Right.
Did you think that this pandemic will end and then you'll have to stop distributing all of this? So did you had this idea that this is going to end after a while, the pandemic?
The pandemic, honestly, no. Like, see, for us, we have a few mentors, like our uncles and a few other people who are pretty deep into social work. And at the same, my parents from a medical background, and I have quite a few doctors in the family. So they were all very clear that, this pandemic is, yeah, it's going to last. It's here to stay. This lockdown might end, but the disease isn't going to disappear. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a vengeance. Like be ready for next year or the next wave whenever it comes, but be rest assured that it is going to come. Don't think that okay, the lockdown is over, the virus is gone, everything's back to normal. No, that's not the scenario. So like we were prepared, we were mentally prepared that okay, this lockdown is going to end, but there is definitely a second wave that's about to come. So, which is why we just decided that, why don't we just focus on this lockdown and like a week or 10 days post-lockdown, so that we wanted to give them a buffer period for them to get back on their feet and start earning and things like that. We didn't want it to be like, okay, if lockdown is ending on Sunday, then from Monday onwards, they won't see us again. Because you don't know, like, they go back, they got to get their jobs, the shops got to open. A lot of factors are there. So we planned it out. So even our funding, we split it up in such a way that we could survive the whole of lockdown, plus a little buffer period post-lockdown.
Okay.
So as we came closer to the end of last year's lockdown, we were able to scale up from 50 liters to 500 liters towards the end of lockdown.
A day?
And per day, right?
Uh-huh.
We were able to expand. Like we were only at 2 settlements, then it became 4, 5, then it became slums, it became so many places, like just like even for example like a construction site where there are families staying but construction is happening.
Daily wage workers, yes.
They have so many children. So anywhere and everywhere where we found children who just needed help, we were making sure that okay, we're going to help them out. And our goal from the beginning wasn't quantity. It wasn't that let's help all the children in the world. Let's help all the children in Bangalore. Like that is, yeah, that's a vision. But our mission was to let's make sure whoever we're helping, we can help them for a longer period of time rather than trying to help everybody but for a shorter period. Let's focus on some places and make sure that everything is taken care of. Where no, they don't have to worry about anything, at least for that given period of time.
Right.
That's what we did. And as we got closer to the end of lockdown, so we reached 500. And some days, there were a few days where we even went and distributed up to 2,000 liters in certain places.
Oh.
So that was, so that was once in a while where, we got a requirement. Someone called up and said, no, these people really want it today and things like that. So we're like, yeah, sure. Like, we didn't have the heart to say no.
Mhm.
So we were able to help as many people as possible. But as lockdown came to an end and our buffer period got over, even our funding, we were reaching the bottom of the bag, and that's when the lockdown was completely done. The new normal started. Everyone went back to work. Volunteers had to go back to their works, like from work from home back to office. Colleges started again, like online class. So as we moved on from friends and family, and the donations started coming from people who didn't really know us and who we didn't know, that's when we decided that I think now it's time to start a social media page, start a proper official fundraiser page. So that one of the main reasons was because we wanted there to be complete transparency of all the funds that come in and the funds which are going out. So I did research and I decided, I went through the different fundraiser platforms, and we chose Milap. So Milap is actually a beautiful fundraiser site where if anybody wants to start fundraising for any initiative, any cause, Milap is a very good place to start off. It's very easy to use. The Milap team is also very active, and they're always there to help you out. So how Milap works is you can choose an initiative. You can put down I want to raise funds for this, like whether it's for a social cause or for someone's health or anything. You can put on and so Milap also had this thing where because it was COVID-19, any fundraiser that was started with respect to COVID or the lockdown, they were not charging any platform fees. So which meant that if you want 100 rupees, the whole rupees will be reaching the end user. They will not take a percentage of it also. So that was actually a very, very helpful thing for us.
But usually they do charge, right?
Yeah. So if it's anything that's not related to COVID-19, then they do charge. Like for example, if say a year ago or 2 years ago, we were raising funds to pay someone's medical bill or to pay someone's college fees or things like that. So for those kind of cases, they would charge a small percentage. It's not a big percentage. It's a very small percentage of your total donations, but they would charge. But for COVID-19, they waived off complete platform charges from their end to make sure that, whatever money is being raised,
it's nice,
goes towards the final cause.
Right.
So we started the Milap page. We put down our goal. We put down the whole story of Mission Milk. And the beauty of Milap is that we were able to then receive donations through any mode of payment, whether it was UPI, like your Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, WhatsApp, Amazon Pay, direct bank transfer like NEFT, or even credit card payments, debit card payments, anything. And it was available to us in any currency. So if you're in Canada, if you're sitting in the other side of the world and you want to donate, you can still donate, having the hassle of, okay, now do I send it through Union, do I do it bank transfer, or I'll send it to the Union Bank and you can go pick it up and things like that. So we didn't have any of that hassle. Because last year, when word started spreading, there were a lot of Indians sitting in different parts of the world who were seeing what was happening in India, and they just really wanted to help. They're like, no, I feel so bad. I'm sitting away from my home and I'm not able to help them out. So this gave them that kind of medium to really, do their bit, where they didn't have to worry. They just had they're like, I'm so far away, but the least I can do is donate some money to a good cause. So that worked out very well for us. And Milap has a very nice way of going about their funding. So how they work is, when I start when I start a campaign on Milap, any donation that comes in is straightly sent to Milap's account. And
Okay, so
if
you don't have your personal accounting to it.
no, so any donation that comes goes to Milap's account, and
Okay.
from Milap, if I need to remove money to make payments or whatever it is, I can only remove it once I provide them with the bills for the amount of money I will be taking out. So,
Oh, okay.
if I want to withdraw like 50,000, I need to show
Mhm.
them accounts worth 50,000 approximately for them to verify it and then release that money. They also have an option where if you don't have, like for example, like milk is something that we have to pick up every day. So
Right.
there's an option where like I don't have the bills, but I will provide it in such and such period of time. And they follow up. They are very strict in their follow-ups. Where like even if say like luckily we didn't have to use that route because we had bills for everything. But say for
Mhm.
example, you need to today I get a call saying that hey, like I want this tomorrow, and I need to suddenly withdraw like say 25,000. I can withdraw it, but give them accountability that okay, either like a predated, like a receipt or things like that, and they make you take sole responsibility for that money. So they will not release it until they've done their due diligence on you and your social cause.
Okay.
So
So this is
that
very
really helps.
transparent process.
Yeah, it's a very transparent process. Like I feel that's the most, if for any charity, any NGO out there, if you want to get donations, the more transparent you are, the more donations you get. And that
Right.
was the goal. It was like, I mean, we've all been there. Uh, you're just walking down the road and this person comes up and they're like, "Hey, would you like to donate to a good cause?" And like, yeah, I would love to, but I don't know what's going to happen. What
Exactly. Where is the
that
money
it's going
going and all
to
of that?
exactly like how do I get to know? So here we were able to give people that kind of tasalli or that kind of like okay, if I'm donating here, I know exactly where that money is going because I will get an update. Like if that person is removing money from Milap, I will get an update with respect to okay where that money is going, what it's being used for, and things like that. And even now, like for anybody
Mhm.
who's donating on Milap, the second you donate, you get a payment acknowledgement saying that you have donated for this cause this much, this is your transaction ID, and so and so. And that is something that we were not able to give people when we were collecting donations personally. And like once like we started getting a little big like reaching a little higher number of donations, we didn't want that money to come to us directly. Like we felt wrong. We're like, array, it's going for a good cause, but it's very hard to explain it to somebody when they're sending you the money personally, no
Right.
matter how much you try it. So we were very adamant that let's make this as transparent
Mhm.
as possible. So we registered Milap, we started a Instagram and a Facebook page, and we started a WhatsApp group with all our donors. Like we just added all of them, made it an admin only group, and we started putting out updates, daily updates. Okay, day one, uh, so many liters in the following areas, and approximately these many kids have been fed
Okay.
that day.
Okay.
So we started releasing daily updates, and a lot of people really appreciated that. And back then, because of the lockdown, we had a lot of help. We had help from all our friends and our cousins who were helping us with social media posts, making videos, making content, uh, coming with us for distribution to take photos and videos of our distribution. So we had a lot of help back then. And then, yeah, then lockdown came to an end. People went back to their normal life. Our funds finally came, like, it slowed down like drastically. And we were left with, I would say, like a lakh and a half to a lakh in our bank towards the ending of the whole lockdown and the buffer period.
Mhm.
And even the migrant workers told us that like, hey, listen, like, we've gone back to work. So something as basic as milk, we are able to provide to our children right now. So you don't have to worry about that. And that actually made us like very, like, we didn't expect somebody in need to come and tell us that, hey, I'm good for now. Why don't you come back some other time? Because like, that's not how
Oh. Uh-huh. Right.
usually work. Like if you're helping somebody, they'll never say no. They'll be like, yeah, sure, keep helping us. Why not? So that was actually really nice of them to like say that. And they also said they're like, हमें मालूम है कि थोड़े दिन के बाद हमको मदद चाहिए तो आप अब के लिए रुक जाओ जब हमको मदद चाहिए हम डायरेक्टली आपको फोन करेंगे. So we were like, yeah, sure, that that's perfect. This way, at least we can save up on funds, and at the
Right.
same, like you guys are in a comfortable position now, like in a better position than what you were in. So Mission Milk slowly came, I wouldn't say to a complete stop, but it slowed down drastically compared to how full-fledged we were going during the lockdown. And like a month passed, 2 months passed, 3 months passed, and like in between we used to get calls like, hey, like, can you please come and give us milk for a couple of days? We're going through a bad time and things like that. And like we were more than happy to. All of these were verified sources. And oh yeah, and another thing. So wherever we went for distribution,
Mhm.
year or two prior, volunteers would go down there to do a survey as to okay, how many families are there, how many children in each family, which family has how many children, so we know how much milk to give in each household. So we had all this data with us. So we had all the contact information, they had our contact information. We had local volunteers from these settlements and from these pockets of areas around Bangalore
Mhm.
who trusted us and who we trusted, and they ensured smooth distribution, fair distribution more than anything. They knew exactly like, okay, like this family, for example, has just 2 children, so like for them this is sufficient. Whereas this family has like around 6 children, so they need a little more help. So we had all that data. So as and when people called us up, we were heading out to distribute. But that was like very rare, like around like once or twice in a month, compared to us doing it every day. And then in between, I would say around 2 months before lockdown is when one of the settlements got in touch and they're like, we know you distribute only milk, but we really, really need ration kits and we're in a very bad state. And like that was the one time where we made an exception. We were like, okay, like, why don't we, anyways, we are sitting with funds, might as well
Mhm.
help whoever we can. So on that one day, we went and distributed around 50 to 60 ration kits for that one settlement. And again, after that, things became quiet. And then came 2021 second wave. Yeah.
Yes.
And that wave was like this wave, not even that. This wave is
Right.
it's horrible. Like, we went from a point of, oh yeah, I heard somebody I know somebody got COVID to, yeah, I got COVID. Or like, yeah, my uncle got it, my brother got it.
Right. It's now too close to us.
It got so close. Like, it kept like they told us last year, like it's gonna come back and it's gonna come back with a vengeance. And that's exactly what happened. And like throughout, like the whole time between last year's lockdown and this year's lockdown, like the three of us were very unsettled. We were like, अरे like हमारे पास funds हैं. It might not be a lot, but we still have funds. Let's use it. Let's do something with it. And when this wave started off, and like the requirement, the need of the hour changed. It became pulse oximeters, it
Right.
became oxygen cylinders, it became plasma database, ambulances, medicines, hospital bill payments. The whole scenario changed, and we were in a dilemma. We were like, okay, now do we stick to milk or do we try and help with respect to what the need of the hour is? At the same time, the kind of funds we have was sufficient to help uh, people for milk for a longer period. But if we were to divert it to anything else, like say an oxygen cylinder or a ventilator or an oxygen concentrator or medicines, all these things were very expensive for us, like with the funds we had. So we had to choose: do we wait and just focus on children and help as many children as we can, or do we just use our funds and buy up to like 4 5 cylinders and that's it, we're done? Like, like that's the end of Mission Milk. So we were in like two minds. We were very confused, and at the same time we thought, okay, now if we start milk, how are we going to distribute? We don't have the heart to call our volunteers out in this condition to come and distribute milk, because that's not fair to them, it's not safe. And like we just didn't have the heart to tell someone like, hey, why don't you come outside with us and distribute again when people are dying left, right, and center? And so many of our volunteers themselves had, like, because it became so close to everybody, everyone had someone they loved or someone they were close to who was infected. So nobody was in like the right space of mind to even like be like, okay, yeah, let's go and help, or it's okay, we'll come volunteer. So it was a very tough situation for us, and like we were also quite lost. So we were talking to our mentors and things like that, and is when Colors TV, Dance Diwani team got in touch with us. and they're like, "Hey, we saw a couple of news articles about you guys from last year, and we
Hmm.
heard what you were doing. Why don't you come on the show and talk about your initiative?" And
Okay.
we were a little skeptical. We felt like that was last. If you came to us last year, we would have been more than happy. But like, we're not
Mhm.
working right now. Like, we don't feel comfortable coming and taking credit for something that was done before. It's like we don't want people like it just didn't feel right. Like personally to all of us, it felt wrong in a way where it wasn't really wrong, but it just felt like we're simply taking credit for something that's already done and dusted. So we were very skeptical, and then they told us, they were very frank. They were like, "Hey, listen, like I understand that you guys might have reduced or might have even come to a hold right now, but that doesn't change the fact that you helped out last year when people needed help." And the whole idea of our episode is to motivate anybody to just start off, do your own little bit, do whatever you can. And we feel like three of y'all are a good place to start because you guys are young. You guys are young boys who just decided to start distributing milk to kids, and that's like a brilliant idea. So just talk about your initiative. You don't have to mention anything about whether you're working, you're not working, things like that. Just come and speak from the heart, talk about your stories, and that's about it. So then we sat and we're like, okay, theek hai, let's do it anyways. And to be frank, the
Mhm.
three of us didn't know how big Dance Diwani is in India
Very,
because
very actually. Mhm.
yeah, so we didn't like it didn't really register. We're like, okay, yeah, it's another show because like during the year we also were part of RCB's like Royal Challengers Bangalore. They had a
Oh.
Warrior segment last year for that IPL thing, and we were a
Mhm.
part. So we thought, okay, it's just another PR stunt, not stunt, like it's just another public. So we were like, okay, sure, let's go, let's do it. And so the episode we went for was actually a tribute to Sonu Sood, who
Oh,
might
okay.
is one of who's one of the most popular people in India right now because of the
Yeah.
kind he's doing. So
Right,
Dan
right.
wanted to basically have a tribute of COVID warriors and make it a tribute to Sonu Sood at the same time because he himself was a
Mhm.
COVID.
Yes.
So on the show, they had a lot of other brilliant COVID who were doing some very amazing things last year and this year from all over by like India, from Mumbai, Delhi, Pune, and things like that.
Mhm.
And we happened to be one of those COVID warriors. So we went, we shot. To our luck, the show was supposed to be in Mumbai, but because of the lockdown, it got shifted to Bangalore. So they had to shoot in
Oh,
Bangalore.
okay. Curiosity.
So in our city. So they were like, okay, perfect. It's in Bangalore. Why don't you guys come down to the shoot? Because initially we weren't supposed to like, shoot. So then they're like, come down. We like, you can just come, get on stage, have a talk and things like that. So we said, okay, TK, why not? Might as well.
Mhm.
So we went up on stage. Like there was this very talented young boy called Sohail, who's one of the contestants in Dance Divani right now. You should definitely
Okay.
check it out. Man, that kid can dance. Like wow. So, and he has this thing where every episode. So he's from Kasargod, which is in Karnataka, and in every episode he has this thing where he brings a bottle of goat's milk, bakri ka doodh, and he gives it to
Okay.
someone. So the show thought it would be really nice to pair us up with him because, like,
Right.
dude, why not? Perfect, like, oh, Eureka. So that's how they built the whole story. And like, Sohail was like, आज मैं दूध वाले भाइयों को देना चाहता हूँ. And, कौन है ये? They introduced us and we came up and we spoke and like it was damn sweet. He was also like, भैया ये दूध मेरी तरफ से आप बच्चों को बांट दो and things like that.
Okay, he gave you goat's milk.
He gave us goat's milk. So he gave us a bottle on stage saying that here, please go distribute it. And like that was just damn sweet. Like the fact that he was like, I really hope that you guys keep doing this. I don't want anybody my age to not have milk. I love milk so much. I don't understand. Like I find it so hard to believe that children don't get milk and like no thank you and things like that.
Mhm.
That happened. So we shot and like we were like, yeah, okay, like cool. That was the first time for all three of us being on set. So we got to see how a set works, how it's shot, and then we get to see how the final product looks on TV. So
Right.
we shooting, and the episode was going to be released the next weekend, and it was Colors TV, and I think on Voot application, and like we were just like, yeah, okay, cool. Like none of us get cable. We are all into the age of Netflix, Amazon, Fire
So
and
you guys
things.
still didn't know how big this is, right? Or you
We
had some
had
idea?
no idea. Like I, at least
Okay.
for personally, I had no idea. At least like I think Zishan and Sufi, like there were a few relatives who watch it, so they were like, oh, perfect. Let's all sit down and watch it and things like that. But for me personally, like I'm not very much into Hindi shows or Hindi movies and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I was sitting at home. I was chilling. I was like watching a movie and things like that. And then Zishan and Sufi called up and they're like, hey, bro, we're on TV. So they video called me and showed me like through WhatsApp call I was watching our interview. And I was like, okay, cool. This like we saw the editing, the way we spoke, everything and all. And like you can see, like if you go back and watch the video, you can see how we are struggling to talk in Hindi because we like our Hindi is more of an Urdu mix rather than just like Shuddh Hindi. So
Uh-huh.
you can see us struggling a little bit, and we were just laughing like, oh my god, we're like such fools on TV. Why did we do this? This is going to be so embarrassing and things like that.
But that was big, right? That would have been a changing thing.
It was insane. Like the second the episode got over, our
Mm-hmm.
phones were blowing up. Like our social media page, which was dead, just took
Mm-hmm.
life. Our personal like social media pages just started getting full requests and messages, and Facebook was blowing up, WhatsApp was blowing up. Our Milap page just like believe it or not. So up until that episode, we had raised around 4.5 lakhs on Milap within
One
2 hours
year,
episode. Yeah,
almost a
one
year.
almost a
Yeah.
year it was to do that
Mhm.
much. Within 2 hours of the episode, we were at 7 lakhs, and that just
Wow.
blew my mind. We were like, bro, like, is this real? What is happening? Like, wow, like we had no idea, like the kind of reach Colors TV and Dance Diwali and just like Indian media has.
Mm-hmm.
That really took us aback. We were like super shocked. We were like, damn, son, what is happening? So then we got together the next day and we're like we have to go through these messages. We have like so much work to do now. If all eyes are on us, what are we going to do? We're not working. It will look so bad, and like so we were like psyching out. And then we're like, you know what? Let's just take it one thing at a time. Even last year we were psyching out, but we managed to do it. So we sat down, we went through our messages, and the kind of support we got, the kind of like kind-hearted messages from people all over India saying like, wow, you people are doing such a great job. These kids really need it. Pandemic or no pandemic, please don't stop what you're doing. And like, those words of motivation is
Mm-hmm.
what gave us that motivation again. And because we were in two minds, okay, like what do we do now? Do we stick to milk, or like what will people say? Like, people are dying for air, gasping for air, but we are busy asking money for milk. So we were very skeptical. But after seeing the kind of support, the kind of messages that people sent us, we were very clear. We're like, okay, like, you know what? The nation has connected with the initiative. We cannot let them down. So we are going to stick to milk and just milk. And we were just getting ready, figuring out, okay, let's do it, like have it like this. We got in touch with all the old areas which needed help, and then lockdown 2 hit us. And lockdown 2 was very difficult for us because, as I said, we lost volunteers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and at the same time, they became very strict about movement. So
Right.
last year, they had this concept of passes, where the police station was giving you a pass. If you had a reason for like social work or things like that, they were giving you a pass which you could show at checkpoints and move around Bangalore. But this
Okay.
year, very strict because of the rise of cases and how bad it was. They were very clear. They're like, we are not issuing any passes this year unless and until you work for the government, or you're like a medical frontline worker, or you're like a registered NGO who has credibility, who has like a proper registered
Mm-hmm.
initial, like an organization. We cannot issue a pass to anybody else. So we
Okay.
were scared. We were like shit. We have the funding, we have the support, but how are we going to do a distribution now? So that was like our biggest roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
So that is when we decided to start collaborating with NGOs across Bangalore. We saw that there's some wonderful work being done by so many people right now. Like this second wave has shown that people can stand up and help each other. When it gets really bad,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I feel the only reason any of us have survived this far is because someone somewhere has helped you at some point or is helping somebody at some point in
Right,
any way.
right.
It doesn't have to just be like you don't have to raise funds, you don't have to donate. Even if you're just like calling up hospitals, verifying that there's a bed or not, and then letting the public know that, hey, this is a verified lead. I verified this lead last night. This morning when I called up, it's no longer a verified lead. Please make sure if anybody sees this, they don't waste their time on it. Simple things like that, which you can sit at home on your phone, on your bed, and you can do it. So we actually got in touch with around 4 5 NGOs in Bangalore who
Mm-hmm.
were established, had a full system, they had a distribution network, they had permission from the authorities, and more than anything, they were kind enough to give us the resources. So we are currently in collaboration with, like we've started off with 2 NGOs. We are in talks with another 3 4 of them
In
for
Bangalore.
in Bangalore. So right now we're focusing mainly in Bangalore itself because, like, we have resources and the 3 of us are
Right.
here. So if there is anything, we are immediately available. So
Right.
we spoke to them and they were kind enough. They're like, hey, yeah, we heard about you guys. We saw your episode. We saw your news. Like, they just like people. It became a point where we didn't have to introduce. People are like, hey, you guys are Mission Milk, right? Like, you guys need some help. So that's how things changed for us. And we were like damn lucky, man. Like, I can't stress enough. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Became so nice to see that people are actually stepping up and helping an initiative which, even though it's not the need of the hour, it's something that has to be focused on throughout the year.
Right.
So they were kind enough, they gave us their volunteers. They said, like, you know what, our volunteers are like completely yours. At any given point, if you need to distribute milk anywhere in Bangalore, please get in
Mm-hmm.
touch with us. So we are currently distributing right now, but we are not yet at full scale at what we were last year. So last
Mm-hmm.
year we were at 500 liters a day, whereas
Right.
right now currently at 300 through these
You
different
guys are
NGOs.
still going out and distributing.
No, so the 3 of us are actually not stepping out because we don't have permission. We actually tried. We spoke to BBMP, we spoke to the police, but they were
Mm-hmm.
very like, no, sorry, until and unless you are a verified person, we cannot give you permission to move around. So,
Okay.
which is what we are doing now is we are raising funds. We are collaborating with NGOs. We
Mm-hmm.
have also adopted orphanages and children homes across Bangalore who had trouble with funding themselves. So we
Oh.
took it ourselves. So we've tied up with orphanages where we told them, we're like, hey, listen, we know
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough time, but from our side, we want to make sure that at least milk is something that your kids get. You guys are able to give them housing, you're able to give them clothes and like an education, but we want to make sure they get milk. So if you guys need help, please reach out to us. And
Okay,
we're
so
gonna
you're also distributing milks to orphanages.
Yes. So right now we have around 6 orphanages who we have taken over with respect to milk, and
Mm-hmm.
each orphanage has around 30 to 35, between 30 to 50 children on an average. So
Uh-huh.
we are distributing to them as well. Apart from settlements, migrant workers, slums, construction sites, and all these pockets of daily wage workers in Bangalore. So apart from them, we are also distributing to orphanages. And uh, I can't say too much because we still have to officially put out word as to who we're working with and things like that. So we have a lot of collaborations in line, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a help us help you type of situation where they are helping us with distribution, and we just help promote them in social media because these guys are already out there. Like, we
Right.
can't thank them for putting like their own lives even at such a given point. Like, these guys are so dedicated that they are like, it's okay, like, I haven't seen my own family for a month, but in that 1 month at least I've been able to help so many people, whether I've been driving an ambulance or whether I've been donating ration kits, donating cooked meals, donating groceries, helping people with medicine, or just going about anyone who's outside basically, who's put themselves at that exposure. These people are so kind hearted. I cannot even stress on that. Like, they know what social responsibility is. They know what it means to help somebody else. Because when, like, I like see this, I feel like one thing I'm sure like a lot of people this lockdown are going through is uh, more than like apart from like physical
Mhm.
health, a lot of mental health is also being disturbed right now.
Right, right.
A lot of people are being depressed or just feel like I know people in my family. Like I had a cousin brother who is basically sitting and verifying leads and like calling up patients, talking to hospitals and things like that.
Mhm.
And he reached a point where he just felt so helpless. He's like, shares like, no matter how many calls I make a day, people are just dying. People are dying in front of me and I can't do anything to stop it. Like there is so much demand, but there's just no way to supply it, be it vaccinations, be it medicines, beds, ICUs, oxygen. There's just no way to supply it. Like, all of us are sitting and working day and night, but we are not able to reduce the number of people dying. Like, what do we do? So I feel like a lot of mental health is being disturbed right now. And people feel like very helpless. They just feel like, man, no matter how much I do, it's just not enough, which is actually the current state of the country where like everybody's involved, so it's not like a you problem and a me problem, it's a
Right.
us problem. So one thing like for like to really help you out of this is help somebody else. If you feel really helpless yourself, help any in any way. Like yes, you might have a lot of failures, there might be a lot of people you couldn't save, or you, like might have a lot of requirements you couldn't meet, but those few cases where you actually pull through, where you find that bed, where you distribute that milk or you feed somebody for that day, that joy and like the blessings you get from those people is like it's immense. Like you can't even compare it to like anything. And like that is what's going to keep you going. Like no matter how much you fail, get up, get back to it. Like
Mhm.
again, fail, it's okay, you get up and get back. Persistence is what's going to keep you going, and that is what's needed right now in this country: persistence and social responsibility. Each one needs to take it upon themselves that, hey, like, I'm going to make sure I can help this, like, help one person a day. Like, I don't think that's too much to do. Anyways, everyone's sitting at home. Like, what do you have to do apart from household chores and like work from home and things like that? Help one person. Like, okay, if you don't like people and you're fed up with human beings, go help an animal. Just feed the dogs on your road, feed some cat you find, put out water for birds on your terrace. Like, it's
Mhm.
some there are so many ways you can help. Just make sure you're doing something. It's high time that each one does their own bit. And like uh, you know how like how they say like every vote counts, like even one person.
Right.
I never believed that. I was just like, no, what? Like, I don't think that's true due to so and like a lot of reasons. But helping one person a day is making a huge difference on the big scale. Because like right now, everybody is suffering. It's not a. It's not. It's
Right.
become personal now. It's not a like, oh yeah, that's their problem. Like why should I bother? It's because
Right.
you don't. Tomorrow you might be in that situation. Like you never know. Like that's the kind of world we live in right now, where you can't take things for granted, where you yourself don't know where you're going to be in the next moment. Like you will be busy planning what you want to do next week, but with the way things are going, you don't know if you're going to be there next week. Like God forbid, but like that is the reality of what's happening right now. So like make sure you help somebody, make sure you do something. If you want to support Mission Milk, please support Mission Milk. If you want to support any other organization, be it anything, whatever you believe in. Like for us, Mission Milk works well because we believe in it, because we know that this is something that needs to be done. So which is why we are able to like be constant, persistent, and which is why I feel we've been able to get how far we have. Even now, when like we sit back and think that we're just like three random boys who started distributing milk in one place a year ago. And we are now at this place where people are getting in touch with us saying, hey, how can we help? People who want to collaborate with us. Like just last week, there's this fruit company called IG Fruits, IG International. And they are one of the largest importers of fresh fruits from across the world.
Uh-huh.
They got in touch with us saying, like, we love what you're doing. We've started our own campaign called hashtag We Care, and we want Mission Milk to be a part of it.
Oh.
So they donated like 200 kits of apples and oranges. They're like, here, please, from our side, go give it to the children. They sent over T-shirts. They're like, here, just give it to the children. Like, with quirky designs and like, yeah, we hope this makes it today. So, like each one is just trying to do their best in their own domain, in any domain. As long as someone is doing something, that's all that matters. You don't need to be a Bill Gates to change the world. You don't need to be Ambani or a Tata to change the world. You don't need lakhs and lakhs of rupees to change the world. You can change the world one person at a time. And that's how we are looking at it. We're like, okay, we focus on child and the next and the next and the next. You don't have to, like, no, if I'm doing it, I should do everybody. It doesn't work like that. And even with respect to like milk angels and all. So yeah, we coined this term called milk angels.
I was about to ask this, what is that milk angel thing?
Yes, right. So we've actually coined this term called milk angels as a part of Mission Milk, which is basically our way from Mission Milk's side to grow our community as big as possible. We consider Mission Milk to be just the three of us or the volunteers who help us out. For us, Milk Angels is anybody and everybody who has been involved in any way possible. Whether you have donated to us, whether you have shared our post, whether you have told your friends about us, whether you've gotten in touch with us with respect to areas which need help, whether you're a volunteer, whether you helped us for social media, whether like anybody and everybody, even if you just took up the initiative on your own, like if you like the idea and you start off in your own city, then you are still considered as a milk angel. Like even right now, like you yourself, Mayank, are a milk angel because you wanted to. And you are helping us, like, put out word there as to, hey, this is what Mission Milk is and this is how you can help, things like that. So our whole aim is to grow our community as big as possible and to not leave out anybody. Like all our milk angels are a part of Mission Milk.
Like so everyone listening to this will also be milk angels, right?
Definitely. Like, the fact that you just know about it and whether it should you or not, whether you told your friends, you are still a part of, like, a part of a family.
Right.
And we believe that the only reason, and like it's true, like the sole reason we have been able to come this far is only because of our milk angels. People who helped us last year, people who are helping us this year, the NGOs which we're collaborating with, and all the people who've just stepped out to help in any way. Like you guys are the reason Mission Milk has reached this level. So like, we encourage you guys to help out in any way or form. When it comes to donations, there's no such thing as big or small. Like it's completely up to you. So we've left that up to our audience and to our angels to decide how they want to be a part of it. And so when we got a lot of questions as to, hey, how does Mission Milk work? How can we do the same thing in our city and things like that? So, which is why, like, as soon as we got all these messages after the publicity that we recently got from Dance Vani, Zufi got a video breaking down the entire process. So we broke down Mission Milk and how it works in a 10-minute video, which you can find on our social media.
Okay, I'll link your social media here. Instagram and Facebook, right?
Right. Okay. And we released like a post with bullet points for those who weren't keen on watching the whole video, because I get insulted long and like, unless you're really interested, you won't listen to the whole thing. Right. So even the audience, even if you're just scrolling on your feed, like you can go through those points. It's around 5 to 6 slides and it covers almost everything. It covers funding, it covers procurement, distribution, safety, the whole situation. Like the whole mission is like covered over there. And so we're not registered as of yet. So our plans of Mission Milk, hopefully by the end of this month or in the coming few weeks, is to register ourselves as a NGO.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why, like, when people asked us, like, hey, can we be a part of Mission Milk? Can we start Mission Milk over here in our own city? We're a little hesitant because we are right now not in the space, or we don't have the bandwidth to take on the responsibility and moreover the risk of you guys sitting at home who want to help us out. Because in Bangalore it's fine, because if anybody wants to help us, we can go verify them, train them, give them our guidelines, see that they're doing work properly, and then we take them onto our team of volunteers. It's not just anybody and everybody, like, because difficult out there. So we have to, like, if you guys are helping us out, our responsibility is you and your health more than anything else. So all the people who are asking about Mission Milk in their own cities, we the reason we released that video was so that you can take the idea, make it your own. Like it's not that Mission Milk started with three of us, only three of us can do it. That's not at all our goal. Our goal of that video was, hey, this is how we are doing it. We cannot actually officially take you under our name right now, but you can do the same thing. It's as simple as how we've broken it down. Like three of us don't have social work background. We didn't work in NGOs. We didn't do any kind of social work before this, but we are, and we are still touchwood so far doing all right. And that was the whole idea. Like this, you guys can have a look at the video. If it catches your attention, if it if it interests you, then take those points which we've given, see how you can implement it in your own area. Even if you are helping, like we recommended a lot of people to just focus in your in your block or in your apartment or in your gated community, wherever you stay, because we know like most of India is in lockdown. It's very difficult to move around and things like that.
Right.
So what we are in a position where we have been able to raise funds for the initiative. But right now, because distribution is a problem, we overcame that by getting in touch with people who are already risking their lives. So this way, we don't have to put somebody else at risk. Whereas people who have already dedicated themselves to do this work are doing it on behalf of us right now. So take the initiative, make it your own, come up with your own quirky names. But at any point, always call you, like, we still consider you to be a milk angel. We might not be able to say that you're directly a part of Mission Milk officially, because like the legal issues and things like that.
Right.
Nevertheless, anybody, so we even in our video and our post, we've told them if you guys are doing this, if you are starting off, please go out there, start off, be safe, put up your stories and videos on Facebook and Instagram, put hashtag Mission Milk, we will definitely see it, put hashtag Milk Angels, and we will start sharing your stories. So that the whole idea is that your story, like how our story has inspired a few people, your story will inspire more people and more people and more people. And it will come to a point where, even though our goal is to start official branches in other cities, it will come to a point where, if, like, for example, where do you stay, Bang? Where are you from? Like,
I am in Pune right now. So
you're in Pune. So now, say for example, you take up the initiative in Pune, and in Pune, or locality, in your block, if you take up the initiative, and similarly, like you, there are like-minded people who are dedicated to do this, it will come to a point where Mission Milk might not even need to officially be in every city, because individually you guys have all taken your responsibility. You've taken that, you've understood the social responsibility as a citizen, as the youth, that you need to do your bit. So it will come to a point where our goal is to cover cities with small like pockets, like do your own area. One person, that the other person will focus in their area, then another person will focus in their area, and before you know it, your whole city is already covered. And if by God's grace and if everything goes right and we do register, we can come over, take over you guys, take us under, take you guys under our wing, take over these pocket of areas which you are already working in. You guys will have the data, everything. And then officially you will become a volunteer. We can start giving you certificates, we can start training you, you can start putting us down in your resume, because that's our final goal.
So you are planning to officially expand Mission Milk, right?
Yes, we are planning to officially expand Mission Milk. We are right now in the process. We are in talk with our legal team and things like that to see the way of taking it forward. And at the same time, we are waiting for things to settle down with respect to the number of cases, the lockdowns and things like that, because all this has been a hurdle. Like, even if, say for example, if we want to start in Chennai, because Chennai is right next door to us from Bangalore.
Right.
We want to be in a position where we can come down to Chennai, meet you guys, talk to you. If you haven't heard our story already, give you guys our story, train you, and officially make you a part of Mission Milk, where it will benefit you as well, where you can put us down as social work which you have done, whether it's in your resume or your college application or anything. You will have one thing in your life which you can be proud of, saying that, hey, I've been doing this social work. Have you started doing yours? So that's our main goal. We want the youth to start taking responsibility, to take up the initiative, and it's okay if it's not mission milk. Do what you feel is comfortable. Do what you think is in your capacity. Whatever you guys feel like you can do. Our only goal is like, please do it, because right now, if we don't come together as a community, then when will we do it?
True.
If,
So
like,
this is the need of our, you can say, because now is the
yeah,
time.
this is like, now is the time. This is the turning point. This is like the call, like the public PSA which we're putting out there, saying, come on, like, step up.
Right.
We are in a bad position. We might get worse, we might get better, but we don't know that. But one thing we can make for sure is that if we just start helping one another in any way whatsoever, whatever the need of the hour is in that moment, if you can take up that responsibility and do your bit, then no matter what comes our way, we will definitely get through. Like, that's for sure.
Okay, now I have one personal question to you. So,
Sure.
COVID has brought a lot of negative things with it. I mean, almost everything's negative, but still. So now, whenever I go online or I go outside, even I just see negative things happening around me. And one way to move from it is I try not focusing on anything that has COVID in it, right? So that is my way
Right.
of having my mental peace. But people like you guys, you are actually facing COVID head on, right? So you are in that zone. How has this impacted you? For example, how has Mission Milk impacted your personal life? Because I know this is so whatever you're saying is all fine, but in the inside, I know it's very depressing, and this might bring a lot of pressure. So is that how it is,
Yeah.
or are you able to cope up with it very nicely?
No, definitely there is definitely a lot of pressure, and I'm pretty sure if you ask anybody who's out there helping out, it's toll on you. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
There are days where you just feel helpless. There are days where you feel like man, like no matter how much I do, like things just aren't changing. Nothing is becoming better,
Right.
and it's natural. It's natural to go through all of this. It's nature. Like, once you're surrounded with negativity, it will get to you after a point. And even for us also, there were points where like each one of us just felt like shit, like यार हम इतना कर रहे हैं, कुछ फायदा नहीं हो रहा है यार. Like, a lot of negative thoughts come in your head, and it does take a toll. Some days you're at your best, some days you're at you're at a low. And for us, what has helped, or at least for me personally, when you just, every time you feel down and like beaten up, and you just feel like today I just don't have the energy, and you will face a lot of days where you just are exhausted, you're mentally exhausted, you're like you said, when you open social media, it's just filled with so much negativity, and like no matter how much you try to remove it out of your way, it will still catch up to you some way or the other.
Right.
So, which is for us, or at least for me, see, I was never into social work, so for me this was all new, and the kind of feeling or the kind of emotions you get from doing it is very much unlike anything else. Like, if you really want to be happy, or if you want to make yourself happy, the best way to do it is by trying to make somebody else happy, because you feel like, shit, I'm so depressed, I feel like there's that, like so many things. Second, you do anything, even if it's a small thing, even if it's as small as just smiling at a stranger, or like
It's contagious, right?
it's contagious. Like, you'll just, like, even if it's a fake smile, if you just must smile at someone, you'll smile back, and
Right.
they'll remember no matter what happened in their day. There will be that one point they'll be like, hey, this random person just smiled at me, and it just made me smile for no reason. Like, I don't know why I'm smiling back, but like, and it's a psychological thing. Like, if you smiled, like, no matter how sad you are, if you just like sit and smile, even if it's fake, you force it, you will reach a point where you'll just like, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you'll just be like, hey, like, that looks like such a fool, and you'll start laughing, and like that split second, like, everything disappears. So, which is why I'm saying, like, you have to do your bit, because that's the only way that I feel will help you come out of this. You might fail 100 times, but that one time that you do succeed, you won't forget that. And it's natural to always focus on the bad and focus on the good, but it's a constant effort. It's a daily thing that you wake up and you're like, I'm going to make sure I do one good deed for the day, or I'm going to make sure I help one person, or I help somebody near me, around me, some like in my family or somebody I don't know. It could be anything. Like just one compliment can change a person's day.
Right.
So that makes a lot of difference. Like it's a constant thing mentally that you have to keep telling yourself. Like it's okay, things are bad, they will get better, or they might get worse, but they will eventually get better. There will be a point where you will feel like, okay, finally I'm in a, like you'll look back and you'll be like, acha, at least now things are peaceful, or like, okay, I've done my bit. I can see that this person has benefited from it, and even if it doesn't affect you immediately, there will be a point where it will affect you. Like for me, right now, for example, I'm sitting at home and I feel so bad that I can't step out and I can't do my bit the way I was doing it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And like people who are putting themselves at risk for something that I am asking them to do. Like I have gone, like even with the NGOs we're talking to, even though they were so sweet and they were all so dedicated, deep down I still feel bad. I still feel bad that hey, like these guys are going out and distributing for us. But at the end of the day, in the evening when I get all our volunteers send us photos of the distribution. So like
Okay.
it's one us making sure everything's going smoothly and
Mm-hmm.
like social media to put up posts and things like that. So when I sit down and I go through that through my Google Drive folder of these photos,
Mm-hmm.
that makes me happy. Because those photos, like my Google Drive, is just filled with hundreds and hundreds of photos of kids just smiling. And just looking at that, like it makes your day. You just feel like, okay, fine, at least these kids are happy. At least this person is happy because of an idea that the three of us had or something that we started. Like it doesn't matter if you're not down there. Uh, even the volunteers, like we've had these volunteers, like the people who've just joined us newly, they
Mm-hmm.
also tell us, you know, it's so scary being out there. But the second you give them that packet, it's like the whole world changes for them. Like such a small thing just makes their whole world change. And seeing how happy they are makes you so
Right.
happy. You just forget about everything else. Even if it's for that split second, it works. So you got to hold on to those split seconds. You got to hold on to those small, like how they say every cloud has a silver lining. So
Right.
you got to hold on to that, and that's what really, like in the long run, that keeps you going. It's this one
Mm-hmm.
small thing, just cheer you up for an instant.
Yes. Okay. So one last thing: if someone
Yeah.
out there wants to directly help Mission Milk, if we have to directly help you, how can we do that? What are the ways for this? Like if you got,
So,
Mhm.
right. No, please go ahead. You were saying.
no, just saying if we directly want to be involved in your cause. So I know we can go out and do our bits, but if we want to support Mission Milk,
Sure, support Mission Milk directly.
yes.
Definitely. So, first and foremost, donations. Donations
Mm-hmm.
go a long way, whether it's a small or big donation. There's no such thing as a small or big, and that is one thing that a lot of people like don't believe that. Hey, that like I can give only this much or I can give only that much. No,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you can give is a huge thing. So, yeah, first and foremost is donations. You
Just
can
as
head
one
over.
thing, you can give me the
Yeah,
donation link. I'll post it in the description.
yeah. Perfect. So it's there in our bio, milap.org/support Shaza Sharif.
Okay.
That's the link. Apart from that, you can share, you can like follow us on social media. You
Mm-hmm.
can see what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Like I'll be very honest right now because social media is being handled just by three of us, and we are very bad at social media. Like by respect to making posts and coming up with content. So things have slowed down compared to last year. We are not
Okay.
at that level where we can put out daily posts, but we have made it such a point that at least once a week or twice a week we will put a post with respect to everything that's happened in that week, because like even it's a little more difficult for us right now. So please, you guys can follow us definitely. uh, Follow us and share. Like sharing goes a very long way. We're in the day of technology where something you share sitting here in Bangalore or in Pune will be seen somewhere you don't know, maybe in Russia and like
Mm-hmm.
China, anywhere in the world. So it makes a huge difference, and that has helped us a lot because you sharing, okay, you like we've had people message saying, I want to help, but I'm just a student, I don't have pocket money. What can I do? And it's very
Mm-hmm.
simple. Share, because somebody in your audience might be in a better place to, like if donation is what you feel works, you might be able to motivate somebody else to donate. So you fall under you are indirectly donating to us in that way, right? And apart from that, for your listeners in Bangalore, if there are places which you know of, if there are families which you know that need help, you can please get in touch with us on social media, on our email, and we will definitely look into it and make sure that those needs are being met. Even if it's ration kits, if it's groceries, anything. We are at a point where we have been able to be part of a beautiful community where if we are not able to help you directly, we can put you in touch with the right people. So even now, if there's a family that comes and says, I need ration kits, because Mission Milk doesn't do ration kits, but we know a lot of people who do. So we will put you in touch with them definitely. Uh, Other than that, yeah, so you can connect us to other angels out there that are distributing ration kits and food, things like that, to help us get over this hurdle of distribution that we are facing right now. So that is one huge way you guys can help us out right now. And we actually put out a post recently on social media saying, help us get in touch with Bangalore based NGOs and orphanages.
Okay.
And the only reason we are able to currently get over that hurdle is because of our Milky Angels. It's because of the people following us who just shared so much to a point where word got out and people got in touch because we were very lost. We were like, who do we approach? Who will listen to us? And things like that. But because of the beautiful thing about social media and how you can just spread things like wildfire, we were able to hurdle. So it's our Milky Angels who actually helped us get over that hurdle by just sharing. And we got in touch with NGOs, we got in touch with orphanages, and we are slowly coming back to full-fledged activities. Apart from that, if you want to help Mission Milk by in your own cities for raising funds as of such, Milap has this really cool thing where under our campaign, under Mission Milk's campaign, you can start something called a support campaign, which basically means like how we have a Milap page, you can create a Milap page. It will have all our data, and that link is some link that you can share to your whole audience, to your families. So that way they know that they're donating it to you because you are a verified person. They know you. They trust
So
you.
it'll come to me and then it goes to you.
Yeah. So when they donate on the link, so you can set a goal. Like for example, Mayank support campaign for Mission Milk can be say 10,000 rupees, and you start sending that link out. That link. So like for example, if you want to know how much your audience has helped you out, instead of putting up our link, you can put up your own campaign link, and all donations that will automatically go to the main campaign. So any donation that comes under your support campaign is automatically donated to our campaign. So for example, if you're 10,000, if you can raise the whole 10,000, that complete 10,000 gets sent to the main Mission Milk campaign, which will be used again to help out the children. Right? So you can definitely do that. Actually have around 3-4 people right now who have started support campaigns, and that's helped us a lot. They've raised up to like 20,000-25,000 rupees, which is amazing, which is like very perfect, like where we also started off. So it's small things like this. So you guys, and even then, if you feel like none of the things I've said right now interested in joining, being a part of this, reach out to us, talk to us, let us know what you feel comfortable, what way you feel you can help. If I've left out any points, or if you guys have an idea like, hey, I think we can help them out in this way, or we can help them out in that way, please reach out to us, reach out to Mayank itself, and he'll get you in touch with us. And let's just make this community as big as possible. That's
right. So Shez, I'm definitely hoping that I'll for sure do my bit, but I really hope people through me come to you, they help you, because I am proud of you. I don't know how you must be feeling, how people around you will be feeling, but I'm really grateful you were here. It was a very fun conversation, and I hope people like you do this and they keep on doing this, because I know it's hard, because we all think that okay, tomorrow I'll do this, I'll change this, I'll do that, I'll help that person, but it's not possible. It's not for everyone. I agree to that, but then we have people like you. If there is anyone who thought of helping someone directly but you can't, then there are things like Mission Milk. You can directly come to them, you can donate them, you can do anything that Shez has now mentioned, and I'll be actually blessed if someone comes through me to you.
Definitely.
So I can only imagine how you must be feeling when all the moments that you shared when you were on ground. I can just imagine and be happy. It's so wonderful.
That itself, like, see, now me making you happy with my story is a moment
Right.
I will hold on when I'm in a bad place, when I feel like, oh my God, I've not done enough. Like, we were talking about, it taking a toll on you mentally. I
Right.
can hold on to this moment, and that is what's going to help me in the future. Right. So,
True.
according to you, you've already done your bit.
I just hope. But okay, Thanks a
Definitely.
lot. Thanks a lot for doing this. Thanks a lot for coming here.
No
Actually,
problem.
I am trying to find out words, but I can only say that I'm very grateful. Seriously.
It's all right. Thank you so much for having us, Mayank. It's only because of pages like yours and social media platforms like you guys who is the only reason like where we started and where we are is only because of people like you. Otherwise, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be in the place where we are right now. So like
Means a lot.
everything completely like it's all for you guys. That's about it.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'll just stop the recording now.